business, sports, culture and the arts. You're watching PBC Jamaica.
It's Tuesday, December 12, 2017. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. There is uncertainty whether members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force will continue protest action today. The Police High Command and the Ministry of National Security are scrambling to implement measures after scores of policemen and women reported sick on Monday. Hundreds of rank-and-file members took action to press the government to increase its wage offer. The Ministry of Finance and the Police Federation were scheduled to meet Monday afternoon to resume talks. Sergeant Raymond Wilson, chairman of the Police Federation, denied knowledge of the action when asked about it by the press. However, scores of police personnel in Area 4, which covers the corporate area, Area 1, which comprises St. James and Western Jamaica, as well as Area 2, which covers St. Anne and St. Mary, did not show up for work. More than 30 cops in Westmoreland also reported sick. Trelawney and other parishes are also affected. The probe into the seizure of an illegal shipment of 119 guns and a large quantity of magazines and ammunition in Miami, destined for Jamaica last month, continues. The guns and more than 200 assorted rounds of ammunition were discovered by U.S. Customs and Border Protection and outbound enforcement team at Miami International Airport on November 13. The alleged consignee, who is a woman, is reportedly a former employee of Counselor for the Granville Division, Michael Trope. She reportedly turned herself into the police yesterday. Head of the Counterterrorism and Organized Crime Branch, Assistant Commissioner of Police Fitz Bailey, says the accused woman has been detained on reasonable suspicion of conspiracy to import guns and ammunition. The Jamaica Customs Agency says it's working to improve its corruption mechanism, but it needs our support. Commissioner of Customs Velma Ricketts-Walker says customs officers have a complex task of securing the island's supply chains. She says measures instituted at the customs help not just their ports, but also aids corruption in general.
We have been taking the necessary steps to reorganize our organizational structure to provide a more robust internal assurance mechanism, thereby strengthening our investigations and internal audit unit, as well as establishing an internal affairs unit.
The Commissioner says as it puts measures in place to strengthen anti-corruption mechanisms, it also welcomes reports from the public, which will be taken in confidence.
But we are here to help, and we trying to create a very transparent avenue for us to work together as stakeholders, and so that we can know to better improve our systems.
The Customs Commissioner was speaking at the recent commemoration of Anti-Corruption Week. The Finance Minister, Audley Shaw, in voicing his support for the cause, urged customs officers to carry out their duties with integrity. He says this will secure our ports and tighten the leakage of revenue.
If everybody complies, we can reduce our duty rates way down by elevating compliance. No matter how good the law, no matter how perfect the system that is devised and implemented, without that system being managed with integrity and transparency, then that system will fail.
Consultant psychiatrist Dr. Jeffrey Walcott is blaming mental illness for Jamaica's crime problem. He says this is also the cause of child abuse. Dr. Walcott says Jamaicans look only at people living on the streets as being mentally unstable, but warns mental illness cases are far greater. Speaking in a recent television interview, the psychiatrist said, quote, "We are the 6th most murderous country in the world. We have rampant cases of child abuse that are occurring, and the media has recently had a flurry of cases that are reporting on. Yes, they are attributed to mental health," end quote. He also pointed to a study which concluded that about 40% of the population was suffering from personality disorder. Dr. Walcott said perceived social behavioral problems or personality disorders are signs of mental health issues. He suggested that because these behaviors may be hard to interpret, this could make it difficult for policymakers to adequately treat with crime. He was speaking on TVJ Smile Jamaica on Monday morning. Minister of Health Dr. Christopher Tufton believes building private wings at some of the island's public hospitals could serve to fill the gaps or offset costs associated with the provision of universal access to health care. Dr. Tufton says the construction of a private wing at the Black River Hospital, which is being targeted as one of the first tasks of the Black River Hospital Foundation, is a concept and principle that has the endorsement of the ministry. He says the government remains steadfast in its commitment to universal access to health care, which ensures that no Jamaican or non-national who requires health care in Jamaica is so denied on the basis of their inability to pay. Nevertheless, he says a frank discussion with respect to how this will be financed is needed. One approach being the establishment of private wings. Dr. Tufton was speaking at the official launch of the Black River Hospital Foundation in St. Elizabeth recently. A $68 million loan has been approved for use by the government for, among other things, the design and implementation of the controversial National Identification System, NIDS. The Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, announced the loan via a statement on its official website on Friday. IDB General Manager for the Caribbean Group, Therese Turner-Jones, says the National Identification System will transform how Jamaicans do business with the government. She says Jamaica will have a reliable system so citizens and legal residents can prove their identity when doing transactions. She says by reducing transactional costs on identity verification, NIDS will help cut bureaucracy and improve the delivery of government services. Mrs. Turner-Jones says the legal framework for the NIDS limits the government's access to personal data and emphasizes the protection of individuals' privacy rights. She says the loan from the IDB will also cover the necessary systems to ensure the safeguarding of personal information. She was speaking with Nationwide News. In regional news, we get an update from Dominica, where more than 2 months after being devastated by Hurricane Maria, recovery efforts are ongoing.
All areas were impacted, including sports. And most of our sports facility definitely were affected. Most, if not all. But however, I really want to, at this point, commend the Permanent Secretary, the sports coordinator, for the vigor in which they started work soon after Maria and ensured that certain things were done. And to this point, we can say that some of our playing fields are usable. And I really want to extend that commendation to the many community members, the members of the National Employment Program, the workers under the National Employment Program, our sports enthusiasts who on their own voluntarily went out there and started clearing some of those fields that were covered with galvanized zinc and everything else, trees that had fallen. And some people really took it on their own to go out there and clean. And then we engaged the National Employment Program team to continue some of those efforts. Though we have received an assessment of the extent of damage at the stadium and the cost to repair it, and you won't believe it is in excess of $6 million to restore everything at the stadium, the VIP booths, the towers, our perimeter fence, and everything that was affected by the storm, to do it in a more climate resilient manner.
In sports, the Inter-Secondary Schools Sports Association, ISSA, the powerful body made up of secondary school principals, is exploring the idea of extending the football season past December, but says there are concerns about how it would affect the balance in the schools. Over the past 3 years or so, there have been calls for ISSA to extend the football season that traditionally runs from the first Saturday in September to mid-December. In light of the crowded fixtures that have stemmed competitions, especially the Rural Da Costa Cup, which sees up to 90 schools participating. Teams have been forced to play up to 3 games in a week in the first round of both the Da Costa Cup and Manning Cup competitions. And at one stretch in the 2016 season, Cornwall College played 11 games in a 30-day span. Linvern Wright, chairman of the Da Costa Cup committee, told the Jamaica Observer that there had been some discussions on the subject and that they are willing to listen to suggestions, but warned that striking a balance between academics and all sports had to be found. And that's the news. Do stay with us. The weather is next. This is PBCJ's weather report. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's start as usual with our local currents. We're looking at Montego Bay, where we're seeing today's forecast of showers in the afternoon. We're seeing a temperature at 25 degrees Celsius, and it's set to go down to 13 degrees Celsius this evening as the sun sets at 6:33 p.m. Right here in Kingston this afternoon, we can expect possibility of showers, and we're also seeing a temperature just about 27 degrees Celsius. We're expecting showers to start this afternoon going into this evening as the sun goes down at 6:33 p.m. And across the island today, we can expect scattered showers across most parishes. We're also looking at some warm temperatures. We're seeing an average temperature between 25 and 29 degrees Celsius. In some areas, it should be pretty cool, though, with the scattered showers. And tomorrow we can expect more showers across the island. We're seeing rainfall over there in Montego Bay and to the eastern end of the island as well. We're looking at an average temperature between 24 and 29 degrees Celsius, so do ensure you plan accordingly. In our forecast for tonight, though, we can see an average temperature between 22 and 24 degrees Celsius, so it should be pretty cool out in some areas. We're also expecting scattered showers across the island. In our regional forecast, we're looking at sunny skies over there in Nassau, Bahamas and over there in Mexico, but it should be pretty rainy in Santo Domingo and over there in St. George's, Grenada. We're looking at an average temperature across the region between 21 and 29 degrees Celsius, so it's a little lower than usual. And in our travel planner, we're looking at a forecast for tomorrow for areas in the United States. We're seeing a low temperature, minimum -1 degrees Celsius with a maximum at 22 degrees Celsius. So it should be pretty cool or cold out in some areas. You should be seeing sunny skies over there in Los Angeles and Miami, but in New York, we're expecting cloudy conditions in certain areas. And that's it for the weather report. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. Remember, we are the People's Station.
My name is Go Williams. I'm in the construction business.